So we're going to talk about how to do our Jerry Uelsmann style montage inside of Snapseed. So let's go ahead and jump into Snapseed. I was working on a couple of different ones earlier. So let's go ahead and open up a new file, and I'm just going to go into my camera roll. And I'm going to start with a background image, and I'm going to take one of the ones that we were working on the other day. Like I was saying, you know, I've been trying to kind of build things out through the week so that we would have options to kind of work with, you know, for these collages. So I'm going to go ahead and use this image here. So I'm going to kind of use that as my background. You know, I think there's some interesting things happening, you know, with kind of the symmetry. Again, that was one of our mirrored photos that we were doing from when we were looking at Harry Callahan's work. So now that I've got that, then what I'm going to do is I want to put like a face. There was one of Jerry Uelsmann's pictures that had like a Buddha face inside the tree. So I'm going to go ahead and put a face kind of up in that top area over there. So in order to do that, we've done this several times now. Tools, scroll up, double exposure. And then we're going to add an exposure. And so if I go in here, I'm just going to go ahead and use this photo here. Now, as soon as you bring in the second picture, when you're in like the editing part inside of double exposures with like our, you know, opacity and blending modes, when we do that, then we've got an option also to scale. So I don't need it to be nearly this big. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Now, notice it's kind of doing it so that, you know, it looks, you know, dark everywhere else, but that's okay. That's just the blending mode. And so, you know, I'm just going to get it kind of about the size where I think it's going to be in that kind of top area. Yeah, let's maybe do the kind of in there. Okay. So, and we can always come back and play with these, right? So I can play with this blending mode, and I also, you know, I can look at, you know, what does it look like at lighten or darken or add or subtract or overlay. And again, I can change these a little bit later. So let's go ahead and just try that. Okay. Now, currently it looks like, you know, it's got just this darkened area here, but we're going to go up to our top part and we're going to say view edits, and we're going to go in here and we're going to brush. So then what we're going to do is right now, you know, we're just going to be adding just the face part. And again, I painted in a little bit more than we'll actually probably need. So I'm going to go ahead and what I want to kind of look at is, you know, before I do a lot of painting, because if I mask it and then I decide I want it in a different area, then I'm going to have to redo the mask. So, you know, I think that the nose and the eyes and things are in a fairly decent place. I might actually want to bring it down a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay. And then I'm going to go into the sliders. And when I do that, then I can then, you know, pull this down maybe just a little bit. Maybe that way the beard and the tree align a little bit better. Okay, let's go ahead and say okay to that. All right, so now we're going to do the brushing. And so we're just going to kind of clean it up. And so, right, it's already been at 100% because we brought in those areas that we wanted. So then I can go ahead and just bring this down to 0. And then I can just start to clean up some of these other areas, right? So I don't want the shoulders. Yeah, I don't need the little greenery from over there. You know, and if I accidentally left a little bit of it, it's probably not going to matter much because there's other greenery around there. But let's go ahead and take all of this out. One of the things Jerry Uelsmann was saying is that sometimes, you know, with color, the reason he does black and white is that the color sometimes, you know, it can be tricky, it can be distracting. And, you know, we can see that that's kind of the case in here, that there's, you know, it's a little bit distracting, but it's okay because I know that we're going to make it into black and white at the end. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and just check with those blending modes one more time and see if there's a different mode that might, you know, and I can just go, okay, let's see what that looks like. You know, that's kind of giving us a different effect. So we'll come back and see which way we like the best. That's going to be too reddish. Yeah. Let's try lighten for now. And then we can always make it more subtle. We can bring down the opacity or something. But now, for at least we can kind of see that in there. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and add another photo. So for now, I'm just going to go back, and we're going to go Tools, and we're going to go Double Exposure. And so I'm gonna go ahead and maybe like make a little like different foreground here. I'm just gonna make some like water and ocean kind of splashing in here. So yesterday, or this morning down at the beach, there were, before I left, I went ahead and took a couple of pictures of just like the water kind of rolling in. So I'm gonna maybe use that photo there. And then, so I'm gonna just kind of rescale it. And I really kind of want like this splash to kind of be coming up, maybe like just a little bit to the right of or the left of the tree. And I think that'll work okay. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and I want this to be solid. So I'm going to bring the opacity all the way up to 100. Okay, so then once we do that, once we go into our view edits, double exposure, we'll paint it in. And so then we're just going to be painting, and I'm going to rough it in first. And then once you kind of rough it in, then we can zoom in, and then let's go ahead and bring down the opacity, and we'll just take it away from the areas that we don't want. So maybe bring down this edge of this tree a little bit. Maybe just keep the horizon line over here. I might want it to splash up over here. It's maybe like coming in. Maybe it's like a tsunami and it's flooding into those spaces. Kind of surrounding the tree. So let's see. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to take a little bit off of this little edge. I think maybe I just got a little too much on there. So you have to just kind of keep going back and forth, keep adding and subtracting. Take your time. If you try to go too fast, or if you just, go, oh, that's good enough, then, you can always clean it up. You can always add or subtract. Okay, so there we go. That's looking pretty good. And then I think we might need to, like the top part, feel like it needs like a, some sort of a cloudy sky or something to be happening over there. So let's go ahead and say yes to that for now. And then we're going to go back into our main screen. We're going to go Tools and Double Exposure. So we've got this blackened sky. So I think we just need like, some big fluffy clouds or something. Let's see what we have in the favorites. This cloud's going to be too big. So let's see how that does. So let's see. And then we're going to go ahead and bring in this case, let's bring the opacity up, and then we'll work with the blending mode. Oh, I think, sorry. When you work with the blending mode, you have to keep it lower. So let's try lighten. There we go. All right. So then once we have that, again, we're going to go up to View Edits. And we're going to paint away some of the areas that we don't need. So we're going to bring these guys in. And because we're adding, notice it leaves the trees, right? So we still get like those trees through there. They kind of blend in with those, with those clouds. So, and then again, a couple of places we might need to take a little bit away, kind of soften that edge a little bit. Maybe come around here just a little bit. So again, just keep refining where those edges are. So, take a little bit away, bring a little bit back in. Take a little bit away, bring a little bit back in. And again, it's gonna, we're gonna be changing this into black and white. So right now it may seem kind of extreme, with the colors, but that's gonna be okay. So there we go. Let's say check to that. And then, let's see here. I think maybe the final thing, I feel like maybe we need something down here at this bottom area. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to our main screen. Let's go to tools. Let's go double exposure. Let's add a photo. And at the beginning of the term, I was looking for stuff when we were doing depth of field, and we were up in Julian, and I took some pictures of there was an antique store up there, and there was a bunch of like old they're gauges, but they kind of look like clocks. So I'm gonna see if we take this and maybe bring it down into this area here in the water, maybe it'll kind of feel like it's washing away time or something. So let's go ahead and let's look at these colors. Darken, subtract, let's try darken. Okay, so again, we're gonna go view edits, double exposure paint, and then we're just gonna bring in some clocks over here, or some gauges. And let's go check. I think they're a little bit too big, so if we go back into those sliders, we can scale it down a little bit. Let's change its position. And I think that's too dark. Let's just try lighten. And let's try painting again. So now that we can get in here a little bit closer. So we'll go ahead and we've got 100% in these areas. So let's go ahead and start to take some away. Let's take a look. I'm going to see what it looks like if I maybe increase the opacity a little bit, maybe make them a little bit stronger. Okay. And then we just need to clean up our minus. And we kind of lost this one over here. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Let's just take it now. Of course, this is still in color, right? So the colors are all over the place. And again, like I said, we're not going to really worry about that in the beginning because we're going to make it black and white, right? So we're going to go tools, black and white. And you can take a look and see which the different versions of black and white do, how you like it. I think I'm going to go with darkened sky. I'm also going to just keep my grain a little bit lower. I don't need a lot of grain. And then a couple other things that we might want to do. Might want to go in and, I love a good vignette, so I'm going to go ahead and darken down the edges just a little bit. That'll help kind of darken those skies a little bit further even, and maybe darken this little bottom part. I do want that inner brightness, though, to stay up just a little bit. There we go. All right, I think we're in good shape. And then once we kind of have that in place, we can always go ahead and do export and, export it. And if you keep wanting to make changes, you want to shift stuff around, you can always still go in and, you can go in and do your view edits. Now, if it's something lower, right, let's say like I decided I wanted to move the face. That's all the way down here, right? We had our original pictures of the background. This is our first double exposure. So you could go all the way back and go in here. Oops, come on. And if you do, like let's say I decided, well, maybe I want it down here instead. What's going to happen though, it's the masking, right? So the masking isn't the same. So I'd have to come back in and I'd have to go in and say, okay, well, I want 100%, and I'd have to fix that mask. Which isn't a huge deal, but that's why I was saying, try to get it in position to start with, so that way it's gonna actually, so you don't have to do the mask twice. But let's just see what happens if we decide we want to do it. Now, once you've done that, then you'll just come back up to the top part and then it'll reapply, those settings. So, you can go back in and remanipulate any of those to see if you like, the differences. Now, I've also got a change up here. I'm going to go ahead and just go back to where it was, but oops, let's see, let's go, I think if we go here, we can just do undo. There we go. All right, so once we have the image the way that we want, we're going to go ahead and export. Now again, you may want to do save a copy, so you can, it says create a copy with changes you can undo, which means you can come back and re-edit it. So well, this time I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to do export, and I'm going to make a export, just a regular old export, so that I can just update that and add it to my website or Spark page. So there you go. That's how we're going to make it Jerry Uelsmann. You know, just play around and try different things, and try it this way, try it that way, move it around, try different blending modes, and just create something that is going to be able to be interpreted and is going to reflect some of that, some of those ideas we've been looking at all week, like metaphors and symbolism. So have fun, guys.